Hi everyone, and welcome to another segment of We Nerd. I am Cassie, and welcome to my channel. So today we're going to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, which is Model United Nations. For those of you who don't know what Model United Nations is, I'll break it down. So you would simply have participants. It is a conference, it's in a conference setting. So you have participants who would come and they would act as delegates of a respective nation, just like the United Nations. So they would come and they would sit down and they would have to present that country's position on the conference topic that that's been selected by the dais members. So basically somebody would be acting as a chair, a director, or a co-chair. And then they would have the rapporteur, which is basically someone who takes attendance. And it's basically a conference. It's just a really great time, and it teaches kids, as well as the dais members, so much about international relations, about how different countries, based upon their policies, actions, would handle and go about dealing with a particular issue. It was something that I was fascinated with. I definitely got involved with. As an IR nerd, it's kind of what you do. I don't really know a lot of international relations kids who have not done Model UN, so this fun disclaimer. Anyways, so that is what Model United Nations is. I started Model United Nations in 2011 at John Adams High School. When my first attending conference, the first conference I ever attended, was in February of 2012. That was the Global Classrooms International Day Conference. And it's exactly that. It's a one-day conference, and you basically have to debate, you have to make your resolution paper, and you have to present it to the dais members, all in one day. But it was great practice for what would happen in May, which is basically a whole week of conferencing. And that one was a major international one with kids from all over the world. It was phenomenal. It was a great time. And I started doing Model UN ever since then. Once I graduated from high school, I was eligible to actually staff the conferences. So again, I am always the type of girl that always looks up things that I'm interested in and try to find out ways I can participate in them. And I knew there was a way you can apply to be a dais member. I had talked about them. We had asked, I had a really cool chair for my first ever conference. And that chair would end up going on to be my mentor and one of my best Model United Nations friends. And what ended up happening was they just kind of explained the application process. It was basically right on the website, the United Nations Foundation website, and I went on and I applied, and they just accepted me for the day conference. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am absolutely down to go. And I went, and it was a great time. I staffed, I was a rapporteur. So it's very much a organization where you start from the bottom, you work your way up, which I absolutely respect. And it was a teaching conference, which I loved. So you can be a beginner delegate, you can be a beginner person, you can have no idea what the UN even stands for, and you would leave that conference learning something. So that is something I definitely want to emphasize. I came from a teaching Model United Nations background. I learned about the whole competitive field when I was in my junior year of college. I never participated in that, really didn't. And I'm very thankful that was not how my Model United Nations career started. But anyways, yes, so Global Classrooms is a teaching Model United Nations. So the whole goal is that they end up learning more than, and the focus is about what they can take away versus the awards. That's what the difference is. That's how Global Classrooms was. And that for me was meaningful, and it was a lot more impactful. So anyways, so I started my conference career in February of 2013. I then went on to staff the Global Classrooms International Middle School Conference, and then went on to go and staff the May International High School Conference. Throughout my conferencing time, I made some great friends that I ended up becoming more involved outside of the conferencing. So not just socially, but also we worked together. One of my friends, he started a Model United Nations camp. I decided to be a counselor at the camp. That was very cool. And he had a whole bunch of us from the conference who staffed the conference come, and we were the camp counselors. I never went camping in my life. That was the first camping situation I had, and it was more like an upstate upstate New York retreat. Thank you, upstate New York retreat, and it was an amazing time. So half the day we would engage the kids with Model United Nations. The rest of the time was regular camp activities we had with them. I never went to camp before that. I also helped create things for a Model United Nations website that the same friend who created the Model United Nations camp, it was his website. I wrote some position papers for it. I wrote background guides that was needed for the conferences. I even went so far as teaming up with the same person that was my very first chair. He became my friend. We even partnered up and created a completely free of charge Model United Nations conference in New York City. It was made possible because I was a student at St. John's University and I had a great relationship with our chair, and she, alongside the rest of the board members, were very, very thrilled, and they're very impressed with what I was doing at Model United Nations with Global Classrooms, that they opened up their classroom to all of these students, and we just got to organize it, and we even created a whole conference. And it was amazing, and I had such a great time. But towards the end, going into my senior year, it became a lot less about the students and about the conference and about camaraderie, and it became something that I was just not in favor of, and so I slowly started pulling back. But needless to say, it was not a great experience, my ending of American Model United Nations. And once I graduated from St. John's, I was completely satisfied with never doing Model United Nations again. I was not going to go to a conference. I was not going to be a delegate, never. Then I went to England. So when I went to Nottingham, I didn't have a grounding. Obviously, I had school, but it was a new country. And still, the only place I ever went in England was London. I never went to the north. I never went to the Midlands. And so I was like, all right, you know what? Let me just go to the club. I'm just going to go to the club. Let's see how that goes. I went to the club. I started becoming very active in debate at the club meetings, and you basically would say the senior secretariat or the people who were in charge of the conference, they were very impressed, and they were like, hey, we need your help. Can you come and go staff our conference? Now, GCIMUN at the time was not as large or as recognized on the UK circuit. However, I came in alongside with the help of one of my other friends, and we went out and we would attend other conferences throughout my time at Nottingham, and that's how we started to build up the reputation of GCIMUN. So when I first staffed, it was very small. It was a great time. It was a wonderful time. It was a very small conference nonetheless. By the time I reached senior secretariat, which I was chief of staff for GCIMUN in 2017, we had over 2,000 delegates. We had staffers from all over the UK, all over Europe, who came to attend. And the UK, going to those conferences in the UK, all over the UK, Europe, and even Israel, I got the opportunity to go to a conference in Israel, was learning that appreciation goes very, very far away. And I ended up staffing conferences all from northern England to the south of England. I went to Scotland, I went to Poland, I went to Israel, I went to Paris. I did a conference in Paris. I did several conferences, and I met extraordinary people who showed me that I can be appreciated again and made me fall in love with Model UNing all over again. And it was such a great experience that I walked away and I had no regrets. I was very happy that I started it back. I would never say that I wouldn't do Model United Nations again, because I've learned that if my friends are organizing a conference and they really need help, I would go. I would go the extra mile and I would do it. But as far as participating at the level I did on as a PhD student, I can't possibly do that. I really can't. It's so exhausting. It's so overwhelming. It can be very time consuming, but it is something that I owe everything to, because through my work with Model United Nations, I was able to volunteer, intern, and eventually work at the United Nations because of my relationship as a Model UN staffer and as a Model UN participant. And I can never regret that. Granted, there were times during my experience in the American MUN circuit that was not that rewarding. It was actually pretty sucky, but the lessons I learned through the people that I met there are priceless, absolutely priceless. And entering into the UK and European circuit, that was a whole new vibe. That was a completely new vibe, in the sense that as long as you attend and they know who you are, that was the name of the game in the UK and Europe. In America, it was very much you work your way to the top. It doesn't matter how many conferences you have under your belt. When you come to specifically global classrooms, you're starting out. You're going to start out from the bottom. You're going to work your way up. In the UK, it was very much, UK and Europe, it was very much, as long as you've attended conferences, you've clearly had a conference experience, we'll see where you'll go. Both opportunities were very, very wholesome and taught me so much, and they left tremendous impacts on my life. I've had friends from both my American Model UN circuit and my UK and European circuit who are great allies and great friends to this day, who not just advise me with my professional life, my academic life, but also my personal life. And even though it didn't end exactly how I would wanted it to end, as far as the American side was concerned, I definitely had a great time, and it was just magical no matter what. And Model UN is something I would definitely encourage any and everyone to get involved with. Even if it's one time, go. Even if you don't like the United Nations, you would learn so much. So just try something. And regardless of whether or not it's Model United Nations or it's the AV club or it's robotics, if you want to try something, try it. You don't know where it will take you. You don't know how far it would take you. I did not expect Model United Nations to take me as far as Israel. There was no way in the world. Even when I was in America, I was like, there's no way I'm even going to be able to do all that I was able to do in New York and in America, because I also did a conference in Texas and things like that. Never, but it enabled me to see the world, understand the world, and be open to new people and new experiences. And that's a wrap for today. Today we were talking about my MUN journey. Thank you so much for everyone thus far who has liked, shared, and subscribed. Even if you haven't, thank you so much for just clicking on the video and seeing what this channel is all about. Thank you guys so much for everything. And I'll see you guys later. Bye!